night, going home after Harvey.
We crawled through the window to the back of the truck, waiting for rescue that we never did get.
A boy's killing tests Duterte and the kids of the corn. At least 18,500 Rohingya Muslims have fled to Bangladesh trying to escape escalating violence in Myanmar. Last week, Rohingya insurgents attacked 30 police posts and an army base. Myanmar's army responded with an intense offensive, setting fires and reportedly shooting civilians. Aid organizations fear that Rohingya villagers are being subjected to collective punishment and that more could be killed. After North Korea's latest missile launch, President Trump said, quote, "Talking is not the answer." As tensions rise, Trump is expected to nominate Victor Cha as the next U.S. ambassador to South Korea. Cha helped lead talks with North Korea during the George W. Bush administration, and he told Vice News in May that he thought the White House rhetoric was in part a reaction to the Obama-era diplomacy.
I think, part of the language that we're seeing is an effort to convey decisiveness, muscularity, but also a degree of unpredictability, to maybe light a fire under the Chinese, try to get the Chinese to put pressure on the North Koreans to get back to the negotiating table.
The Trump administration will not require employers to report pay by gender, race, or ethnicity, halting a planned Obama-era rule. In 2016, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission adopted requirements that would have gone into effect next year, saying the information would help fight pay discrimination. But this White House says the rule would be burdensome to companies and could pose privacy and confidentiality issues. In a statement, Ivanka Trump gave her support for dropping the wage gap initiative, despite advocating for equal pay in the past. The FDA today announced approval of the first gene therapy procedure. The drug has been approved to treat acute lymphoblastic leukemia, the most common form of childhood cancer in the U.S. The process involves removing a patient's cells, genetically modifying them to attack cancer cells, then re-injecting them back into the patient. Novartis, which developed the drug, will charge $475,000 for a one-time treatment. Harvey's drenching rains are moving east after days over the Houston area, which means that in America's fourth largest city, floodwaters have begun to creep down, offering a first look at the storm's real legacy of destruction. There is still no way to count the number of critically damaged homes and businesses, but it's likely to be astronomical. Dangerous mold can appear within a day after flooding recedes, and every wet surface in every building must be removed or scrubbed with bleach solution. Furniture and carpets will likely need to be discarded, and many homes may need to be stripped to the studs and rebuilt. But according to analysis of FEMA data, less than 20% of the people in the hardest hit areas have flood insurance. Homeowners whose houses were flooded may be able to get grants from FEMA, but those grants are only available to people whose homes are completely unlivable, and they typically cover only a fraction of repair costs. Homeowners can apply for a federal loan to cover the cost of rebuilding, which effectively means taking out a second mortgage on their homes. Tens of thousands may decide to relocate altogether, but right now, all of those decisions are impossibly remote, and for the families venturing out of Houston's shelters, there's one consuming imperative: assess the damage.
We go out the door right here. Lord, I'm gonna get to go home. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah. Wait a minute, don't put that in there yet. Okay, this is what we facing. Going back to our destroyed area. I never thought I'd have to experience nothing like this in life. It's the first time for everything. Called 911, they left us on hold for hours. It had got to one point I wanted to just get my family out. I was willing to stay behind and try to save what I could, but my wife wasn't gonna leave unless I left. So I had to leave to get her out. All of this was totally underwater just a few days ago. Everything here, this is my neighborhood. This is what we swam out of. My home, see what's left. As you can see, the water line is from here. We're gonna have to find us a place to stay for at least about maybe 6 months.
Just a little bit overwhelmed, you know, but I'm grateful, you know, just to be here to tell the story, you know. I never been through nothing like this before.
We crawled through the window to the back of the truck, waiting for rescue that we never did get. We wound up leaving about 7 o'clock that evening when we realized we had to swim out.
How are both of you feeling right now?
We're heartbroken, it's sad, but you know, it's just a rebuilding process now. We never expected it. I mean, we go through it, and Houston is a strong city. We're known for helping each other out and building ourselves back up.
What do you think the next steps are?
Replacing everything, rebuilding, getting back up on our feet.
Do you have any sense of how much you've lost?
That's materialistic. We're not really worried about that. It's just the process, the work process after the fact that's going to be more scrutinizing than anything.
Do you know where you're going to sleep tonight?
Oh, yeah. We're going to my daughter's house.
When you walked through your front door just a few moments ago, what was running through your mind?
It just don't look like our home. I just couldn't believe it, you know, because seeing stuff like that, I would never imagine that it'll happen to us. But just seeing everything is overwhelming.
I come home, I see my neighbors, everybody's all right. Hey, that's a plus for me. Be careful for snakes. I'd rather be here than to be where I was. Now I can get some things, start on some things that need to be done to try to get everything back to normal. Through it all, we'll make it. Like I say, take it one day at a time from here.
President Trump flew to Springfield, Missouri today for what the White House called a kickoff event for tax reform. The president is hoping for a win on rewriting the tax code after a string of bad defeats in Congress. It was a nod to vintage populist Trump, the rich guy who's willing to take a hit for the working class.
And I'm speaking against myself when I do this, I have to tell you. And I might be speaking against Mr. Cook, and we're both okay with it. Is that right? It's crazy.
As usual, though, Trump didn't fill in the details. Evan McMorris Santoro explains.
If you listen to the president's speech today, you heard a lot of talk about how great having a tax plan is. A tax plan. Totally awesome. The solution to so many of our many problems.
The foundation of our job creation agenda is to fundamentally reform our tax code for the first time in more than 30 years. I want to work with Congress, Republicans and Democrats alike on a plan that is pro-growth, pro-jobs, pro-worker, and pro-American.
But one thing was notably missing: a detailed tax plan. And that was actually by design. A White House aide reportedly said last night that the speech today was about why to do tax reform, not how. In theory, President Trump's strategy makes sense. Republicans are not united about a lot of stuff, but they are united about the idea of cutting taxes. Never Trumper, pro-Trumper, would rather pretend this isn't happening Trumper, all of them want to cut taxes. Republicans control the entire government. So it makes sense the president would set a strategy and let Congress take over. But Trump tried this once before. Republicans of all stripes wanted to get rid of Obamacare too. We all remember how well that went.
The ayes are 49, the nays are 51. The motion is not agreed to.
Under Trump, even the big stuff that's supposed to unite the GOP hasn't resulted in actual law yet. And just as healthcare is hellaciously difficult, tax reform is way more complicated than cutting taxes. And it's in the details where Republican divisions are already becoming clear. Here's an example. Trump's one really specific idea today.
We would like to bring our business tax rate down to 15%, which would make our tax rate lower than most countries, but still by no means the lowest, unfortunately, in the world.
But last week, a Vice crew was out in Iowa with Republican Senator Chuck Grassley when he was doing some town halls. He's a major voice for lowering taxes in Congress. He spoke before Trump's speech, and that 15% thing already wasn't selling with him.
You know, the president proposes 15. I think that's unrealistic. 20 to 23, I think, is more realistic.
It's pretty obvious that the White House and Congress are going to have some serious differences here, and that the process is going to be long and convoluted. But it won't matter in the end if they can get something done. And if they can't, well, Trump made clear today he's not going to take the blame for it. Not this time.
And I am fully committed to working with Congress to get this job done. And I don't want to be disappointed by Congress. Do you understand me? You understand? Understand. Congress.
In the Philippines, President Rodrigo Duterte is ramping up his all-out extermination campaign against drug offenders.
You are free to kill the idiots.
The past 2 weeks have been the deadliest of the year-long war, with over 90 people killed in one 3-day span, 32 of them in a single raid. The public has been largely supportive of Duterte's ruthless methods, but after the police killing of high school student Kian de los Santos, that may finally be changing.
Justice for Kian! Justice for all!
Mga pre, salamat ta kahit di nyo ko dadalhin ko ang saya hanggang sa aking huling hantungan. Wala kang kasalanan, wala kang kasalanan, wala kang kasalanan, inosente ka, Kian. Rest in peace, yo.
Sobrang masakit. Dapat binaril na lang nila sa paa para mabubuhay pa siya. Ayoko na pong balikan.
Kian was 17 when he was shot in the head during a drug bust. One of more than 12,000 now killed by police or vigilantes, according to human rights groups. Police said the boy was a drug runner and that they fired only after he pulled a weapon. But this security cam footage appears to show officers dragging the boy into an alley before his death. Eyewitnesses claim he begged to go home, saying he had to get to school for a test the next morning. The footage is the first piece of public evidence of police misconduct in the drug war, forcing even Duterte to acknowledge that possibility. He met with Kian's parents on Monday, reportedly promising them justice. The next day, the parents asked the Justice Department for witness protection. The 3 officers are facing official murder complaints, and the Senate has launched an unprecedented inquiry into the case and the National Police.
The purpose of this investigation is to find out why the circumstances behind the killing of Kian, not whether Kian is a drug user, because he patay na yun eh.
Autopsy reports presented at the hearing indicate Kian was shot from above, and now the officers' accounts have begun to shift.
Sir, kasi pong madilim nun, hindi namin alam kung Ano sir, tawag dito? Kasi po pinutukan niya lang po kami. May narinig ko yung putok. Opo.
A senator from the opposition party, Risa Hontiveros, says 3 eyewitnesses to the killing have also sought protection directly from her, fearful of law enforcement officials.
Who knows how many more Kians fell during the night but were not recorded in their last moments by a CCTV video or did not have brave witnesses such as Kian's young friends.
Akala ko dati, kapitbahay nyo lang ang sasama. Ngayon, higit pala. Kami mamamayang simple lamang, nagsusumika, ngunit paparatangan ng mga ganung bagay.
More than 1,000 people joined the funeral procession through Caloocan City, turning it into one of the largest protests so far against Duterte's drug war.
Right now, many Filipinos still believe that this is just a remote incident and a collateral damage, but it's not. Human lives of our people were being involved and at stake.
When you're staring at corn for 10 hours of the day, sometimes when you close your eyes, all you can see are like tassels and corn. Sometimes you have dreams about corn. Mine are a little bit scary. Like I'm on the school bus and we just keep going miles of corn. The tasseling is when we take the tassels from the female corn that have the pollen on top and we take it off and we put it on the ground. Ready? Go get it! I try to wake up at 6 to get ready. I get dressed and all that. And we go to the bus. We have 4 buses that go to different stops. I think we have like 200 kids. It's mostly kids who do detasseling because if you're 18 or older, you can easily get a job at like McDonald's or Taco Bell. But like us, this is like the only real job we have. So that makes it easier for us, and adults get, I guess, the better jobs. I make minimum wage. I think that's like 7 something. I don't know. I'm gonna put half of it in a bank account to save for a car, and the other half I get to spend on whatever I want. I'll probably spend it on like cake mixes or cookies or candy, stuff I really don't need. Back to school shopping, it's my favorite thing. I hate school though. There's usually 4 rows of female corn and 1 row of male. So we have 4 people on each row, and then we have a checker behind us. So we get all of them that we can, and the checker usually gets the ones that we miss. You know the little hairs that always get stuck in your teeth when you eat corn on the cob? What the female corn is trying to fertilize those, but we don't want that. We just want the male corn's pollen to go on the females. I had for lunch a sandwich, some fruits and vegetables, some water, some Powerade, and some fruit snacks. Field's really hot. Felt kind of tired. It was really tall and there was a lot of weeds in there, so I had to work our way through those. It wasn't fun. This is my row. Get your own. So sometimes they give out bonuses to kids who do well. and they might fire kids who play around or throw tassels. That's another big thing. You do not throw tassels at other people because they really hurt and they can fly good. They're like the world's best paper airplane. They're really fun, but not supposed to do it. Oh, shoot. I always forget to do that. I want to make money, but they also say that this looks really good on a resume to get a different job. They say, oh, she's a hard worker, she can detassel. My dream job would probably be a baker in New York City. I really like this job just because I guess it's kind of easy to me. It's long hours and really hot, but it does make me happy.
Bye-bye. I see you. Bye-bye. I'm playing this shit out. She got so many shit.
Sound designer Jason Candler and seismologist Ben Holtzman are the creators of a show at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. The show is launching this fall, and it's called the Seismodome.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a ground motion visualization, a GMV, as if we're inside the Earth during the Tohoku earthquake.
The show takes visitors inside planet Earth to experience earthquakes.
This is a network of seismometers, so that's just the ground vibrating at each dot, at each point.
Earthquakes are basically just energy waves that humans almost never get to hear. So making that experience possible took some work. Ben and Jason had to convert those waves to audible sounds, which they then paired with visuals. When an earthquake hits, scientists measure it by using a machine called a seismometer that records the up and down movements of the Earth's surface. The end result is a graph that looks like this one.
So instead of looking at a graph that's, just squiggles up and down, you're able to actually hear what's going on and hear the nuances. That's the general idea.
Yeah, and one of the things we study in a research context is how much of that subtlety we actually can perceive through sound. A seismogram looks like a sound wave. Mm-hmm. Essentially, we're telling the computer to convert that into a signal that becomes how far the speaker cone moves from its resting point.
That conversion means that the audience gets to hear the 7.0 magnitude earthquake that hit Haiti in 2010, and the record-breaking 9.0 magnitude Tohoku earthquake that devastated Japan in 2011. The human toll isn't lost on the show's creators.
In the kind of beginning of each Seismodome show, we make some kind of disclaimer. These are earthquakes that one of them killed 200,000 people. And we say, this show is about the natural process, and you can find them beautiful. It's not without the association of what happened to us.
This will be the 5th version of the show at the museum's Hayden Planetarium. Ben and Jason try to improve the experience each time. They say the new show will feature significantly more advanced graphics, made using video game software. Why are you doing this?
Hopefully it's self-explanatory. It blows our minds all the time. We like blowing other people's minds.
Some event happens, and he's like, Jay, you gotta hear this. Okay, great, let me hear. Wow, okay. Every time, wow. You're listening to a living planet. What's not great about that?
That's Vice News Tonight for Wednesday, August 30th.